Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the studio. I'm clicking around on my device and just making sure that we're live on our channels. It looks like we are, I think. Seeing a black box here, like on the YouTube. Maybe it'll come up, hopefully. If not, pull it off of the Zoom recording and upload it not live. It'll be okay. I'm glad you're here today. There we go. I have a new webcam and it's a little weird because I'm zoomed out further than I thought, which is really cool. I'm also I'm hoping the mic works better. My other mic kind of cut in and out a little bit, so hopefully this one works a little bit better. And then every now and then I'm having issues with my eyes, which are greenish and they go into the green screen and then I look kind of creepy, but hopefully, all the things. I need to find a webcam that warms it up too. This is a very cool look for me. I don't know. I'll have to do a little bit of research and see if I can edit my my video quality. I don't know. Anyhow, just thought I'd let you know in case anybody noticed that it looked different. That's what happened. It's a little bit later today for our video. Oh, it's 12:30 and it's not even morning. I think I said morning, but it's not morning. I'm drinking my coffee still. I told Nancy and Laura today, I was like, the weekend ran me. Like I didn't run the weekend. I need a weekend from my weekend. I don't know if anyone else feels like that. Month of October is nutty, everybody. I did wake up and do my hair, so I feel like at least that's going well. We can do this. Second week of October. Let's go over just a few things in the intro notes, and then we'll dive into what the kids are learning in classes. If you are starting October classes with us this month, welcome to the studio. This might be your first video if you signed up after last month's Monday video. This guy just doesn't know what it wants to do. Okay, it may just land in the middle of my forehead. That's okay. But we're going to talk about everything the kids are learning in classes in these weekly videos. You can always follow the timestamps. So that you only, you don't get all the fluff. Now, if you want to know what everybody's doing, by all means, watch the whole thing. But otherwise, follow the timestamps and just watch your kiddos' division of classes. Sound good? There are no preschool classes today in Plattwoods. The North Kansas City School District is off, and so we went ahead and took it off. We can't always do that. But if we can, if we have the flexibility to do it, we try to take it off if the schools are out, just because we know if you have older kids that are in the schools and then they're home and you got to figure out what to do with them during preschool class. Anyway, it's the whole thing. Like I said, not always available, but today it was. So we took that off. Reminder, you can always find your class schedule inside your Sawyer account. Other notes, it is week 2 for everybody starting tomorrow. So Monday classes, remember, you guys are a week behind. You just started a little bit late. It's okay. It's the way the month is worked out, right? October 1st was a Tuesday. So the first week of October was last week, Tuesday through today. And then we're starting week 2 starting tomorrow. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. And then I think that's it. You ready to dive in? Let's go to preschool. Click. So our preschool classes here, we've got our month of October where we're looking at lines as our kind of element of art. Last month we looked at dots. We're going to play with clay as our media. We still do all the other things. We still paint, we still draw, we still sculpt, we still all the things, right? Collage. But our main media focus for our project is going to be clay. And the artist we're looking at is Mondrian. There's also some Rothko about, so which is a fun color field painting. Kind of matches more with Perfect Square and Elmer than it does Lines with Wiggle, but we read Lines at Wiggle last week and we did some monster art. We drew lines in our journals. We also started our clay bowl project, which is a slab bowl. So we got to roll it out like pancake and then shape it into a bowl. We use string to make our lines. Those will be dry this week. So when you show up, those bowls are hard. We're going to talk about the properties of clay and how it changes. It's no longer squishy and soft. It's now dry and hard and brittle and breakable. And then we'll get to paint those. For the most kids, we're going to paint those for 2 weeks. Now, if you only paint it for 1 week, it's fine. But we like to paint it for 2 weeks. That way we can get both sides of it, the inside and the outside, and also get some colors layered on there. Our clay bowls will go home at the end of the month. One thing you need to know about this project is the paint that we're using on top of the clay is not a washable paint. So please make sure that you wear your art clothes to the studio. We will have paint shirts to throw on over the kids if you want them, or if the kids want them. But if you're not here and the kid says no, then we don't put it on them because we're not going to make them wear it. So wear art clothes to the studio. And then, the shirt doesn't cover everything. So it doesn't cover the shoes. It doesn't cover the pants. And things happen. So wear your art clothes, not a washable paint when we're painting our clay. Okay. This week's book is The Perfect Square. Yes, Perfect Square this week by Michael Hall. K through third grade classes. All right, so our project this month for K through third is a slab project. So similar to what we just talked about in preschool, where they'll roll those out with the rollers. Think pancake with slabs. So there's a lot of skills involved in rolling that out, making sure we're rolling it and not bulldozing it with the roller. So we'll get those rolled out. Last week, we looked at a lot of art inspiration. It was all of our multimedia classes. They looked at a slideshow of other fish art through the ages, other slab art through the ages, other textural arts. So we can talk about all of those things. Some was contemporary, some was historical. And then we brainstormed, different types of fish. So we've got photographs of fish for them to look at, because the way you design a fish and the way I design a fish might be completely different. So they'll use those as their inspiration. A lot of them designed fish last week, although if they didn't have time, that's okay. We have time to do it this week. We also played with clay last week. So we did a lot of squishing and molding. We practiced rolling slabs. So that way this week we could roll on our real one. Now, if you heard anything about the clay, we did have some trouble with some of it. We have a Crayola air dry clay. This is our second year using Crayola air dry clay. Prior to this, we used a Discount School Supply Colorations brand, but they discontinued that. And the clay we got from Crayola is not my favorite. It's the same stuff, but it's really dry and kind of brittle. So we did emergency ship in some alternative clay. It came in Friday. We tested it Friday. So it came in Thursday. We tested it Friday. Grace and I did. And liked it better. And so I quickly ordered a whole bunch more. So we have brand new clay in the studio. It's a totally different brand. I ordered from Amazon. Called Old Time Pottery is who makes it. And we like it a lot better. So we will be swapping out that clay for our kiddos. So it might feel a little bit different for them, a little bit squishier, a little bit slipperier, just more pliable. So, and then I'm working with hopefully getting a refund on all that 150-pound clay that I ordered from DSS. So, but anyways, and so we'll have a little bit different clay for them to work with, hopefully a little bit more successful, but they'll roll those slabs and cut out their fish this week. We're hoping to get all of the building done this week. So we'll get it rolled, we'll get it cut, we'll get it textured, smooth as a texture too. They'll get all their designs etched into it, and we'll put our holes into it for hanging. So, because eventually there'll be like a plaque that hangs on the wall with a wire is our goal. All building in wet clay will happen this week. So if you're absent this week in week 2, not tonight, because remember Monday's still week 1, but starting Tuesday. If you're absent in week 2, it's really important that we get you in here for a makeup. That is our ideal, perfect thing. So that way you have all the way until next week for that clay to dry, and you are ready to paint with all of the class by the time you get to next class. If you do not make a makeup, that's okay. We'll build with wet clay when we do see you. Just know that, sometimes if you miss a class and you don't do a makeup, we can just get you caught up in class. We won't be able to do that this day, like if you miss week 2. And the reason is because we need that week dry time between lesson 2 and lesson 3. Like I can't paint squishy wet clay. So anyways, just be aware of that and work with us to figure out a makeup. If that makeup time doesn't work, maybe there's an alternative time that we can get you in here. Okay? Don't worry, don't stress about it. I know October's crazy. If you can't make it, we'll deal. Okay. All right. So that's what we're doing with K-thirds. Our 4th and 5th in our middle school, high school, or 4th and 5th in homeschool. And this is going to be a lot of repeat, but I know people watch just their section, so bear with me. 4th and 5th and homeschool classes. You guys looked at your slideshow last week too, and we looked at not slab pieces, not fish pieces, because that's what K-third is making. Their slideshow is different, and we looked at like different types of vessels, pots, planters, vases, vessels, containers, things that hold stuff. We looked through the ages, historical pieces, as well as a lot of contemporary ceramic artists. I tried when I made the slideshow to find ceramic artists that are hand builders. Different ways to build with clay, right? A lot of people are really familiar with a wheel, where you throw on a wheel and then you have to shape it while it spins. And that's not the type of building that we do here. So the types of inspiration pictures and art that they are looking at in their slideshow is a hand build. It is not a wheel build, just so they can kind of see what the options are. We looked at all of that stuff. We talked about texture. We talked about pattern. We talked about, shape and form, so that they could get an idea of what type of vessel they were going to make. And then we played with clay last week. So they practiced making pinch pots. That's the construction technique that this class is going to be using, is a pinch pot. It's classic technique. A lot of them are really familiar with it. A lot of them are really amazing at it. So we're looking forward to seeing where they can take it. In our art inspiration pictures, we looked at, some of the vessels added interest to the exterior of their pot because it was an unusual shape, or because there were added pieces to it. So you do some scoring and you do some slipping and you attach and join pieces that attach to the outside. Some people carved away designs and patterns to add interest. And still some, it was completely smooth and the interest came in the paint that was applied to it. So we talked about all of those different choices that they get to make as artists in their vessel. So what they're crafting is a planter. We'll get those built. We'll get drainage holes put into them. This week, we're going to build. Next week, we're going to paint. And then the last week, we'll do the planting part. Okay. All right. In my older kids classes, again, a lot of repeat here. Last week, they also looked at their slideshow, not slab. They looked at vessels and vases and containers that were built with coils, because that's the building technique that they're going to use. Again, not wheel throwing, hand building techniques. Totally have a typo in there. Just ignore that. 7th. It's really small on my computer sometimes when I'm looking, and they all run together, but you guys know what I mean. So they looked at their slideshow and had some great discussions, designed their pots in their journal, and practiced building with coils. That's a really tedious is a good word for it. It's a really tedious building technique. Lots of options with it. You can build really interesting things using coil building, more so than a pinch pot. You can make your pot do lots of crazy things. And so we did practice some coil building, and here's where the Crayola clay really failed us, was in the coil building. It just was too dry and too brittle to build that type of pot. And that has not been our experience with this brand of clay. And so that's one of the reasons why we went ahead and just scrapped it and got some different stuff. So the clay that they use this week, they'll be a lot more successful with. And this is the class where they'll actually do the building. So this class in particular, these older kids are going to have to come in and knuckle down, because coil building is not a fast process. Fortunately, they did their designing last week, so they already kind of know what their slab base is, what their design is going to be, and they can just get to work rolling coils, slipping and scoring, getting them built, get those walls built up, so that they can get their vessel built. Again, our goal is to get everything built this week, and then next week we can paint, and then the following week we can plant. For anyone that doesn't get done with their building this week, we will go ahead and keep it wet, so that they can build next week. But our goal is to have it done. If there's just like so close, like not even enough to waste a makeup on, like, why would I make you drive here for 12 more minutes worth of work? We might just have you stay a little bit longer, or come in the next day, or something. We might just figure out a little pocket of time for you to come in and finish, so that you don't have to come in for an entire makeup session. Yeah, so that way you're on track to paint. But we'll do that kind of on a case-by-case basis, okay? Because we do want that week dry time so that we can be ready to paint next week if possible. If not, we're flexible. My eye's doing that creepy thing again, you guys. Isn't that weird? Okay. All right, let's move on. Here we go. Creative Explorations, it's also clay hand building month in Creative Explorations. And so we've got our clay table that was probably, I subbed the Friday class in Liberty with Miss Grace. She did most of the work, but I was here. And so the clay hand building was probably the most popular place to be. We made some really cool things. Some of them chose to like squish it and just have it be like a process, and maybe next week they'll make something. Some of them chose to let it dry, and then so we'll have painting stuff out for them next week to finish their pots or begin finishing their pots. Not all of them are pots. I shouldn't call that sculptures. We had our art history focus is pretty generic. It's learning about the history of clay and how clay is made, different types of clay. We had an invitation to draw vases. I don't know how that works at Flatwoods in Liberty. I don't think anybody even walked over to the lounge. So, which isn't unusual. I mean, you get into your zone and you find your spot, and you're there for class. And so that one was not hit by people. Maybe this week they'll make it over there. We've got our collaborative vertical surface mural going on with kind of odd painting tools. Play-Doh, we have that out. We also got out the corn bin here in Liberty because we have that out for preschool anyway. So that was really popular. And then really popular, I should have brought them, was this modeling clay. So we have two different types of clay out, an air dry clay and a plasticine. Modeling clay or plasticine clay is a wax-based clay that doesn't dry out and it's already colored. And so we're using that almost as a mosaic. We've got little tiles, squares of foam core out for them, and then all they have to do is tear little pieces and make a little mosaic. Since it doesn't dry out, you can just, kind of smush it onto the board and it stays there without any adhesive, as long as you do a light enough layer. So that was really popular. A lot of kids had fun with that. I will be interested to see, now that we've introduced that as a process, like how deep they can go with it. Drawing classes. Ready for this? Let's see. I brought stuff to show in drawing. Next week, I should have stuff to show for multimedia because we'll have clay pieces that have been built, right? This week we didn't, we switched them off. All right, let me grab some journals here. Of course, they're not in order. I should have brought the photo references here. So my Drawing 101 classes last week did a charcoal reductive drawing. That means that instead of taking white paper and drawing on it with the dark, we started and we colored the whole thing dark, and then we drew and dug out with an eraser. We looked at nocturnal pictures of bats, and that's what we drew. So there's still some additive drawing happening in here. We did the charcoal first and then dug out the lights and then went back in and put the darker darks on top. Lots of great discussions on value because it's not just light and dark. There's a lot of mid-tone in there and ways to describe it. A lot of times we use a value scale of 1 through 5 when we talk about how dark something is. So here's another one. Those are really fun. Now, those are my 101s. I'm going to show you 102s because they did the exact same thing. But before I get to that, let's talk about what 101s are doing this week in class. So we're going to talk about perspective, and we're going to learn about what a bird's eye view is. So that's something that's seen from above. And we're going to draw treasure maps. So we'll draw maps because those are drawn from a bird's eye view. Do a lot of symbolism. We'll work with ink. We're going to be on brown paper so that they look old and treasury. And we also have some little like pirate costumes so that we can pretend to be pirates with our maps because it's really close to Halloween and that sounds like fun, doesn't it? All right, my 102 classes. So my advanced realistic also did bats. We did the exact same lesson. Of course, they have longer to work and they're older and more advanced artists. So we got some really great things coming out of there. Got the bats. And they worked from different photographs. So if you're like, oh, those look totally different. We had about 8 different like photographs for them to choose from so that they can pick what they work from. And some kids really love this style of drawing. It's very painterly. To think about that, some people really struggle with it. It's just not how our brains are wired, and that's okay too. But it's still a great exercise for our brain. In this week's class, we're gonna go back to drawing from life. So this was from photograph. This week will be from life, and we're gonna draw a pumpkin still life. So there's already pumpkins. Just traditional orange ones, as well as some white ones and some green ones. So we'll set up a still life or an arrangement of those pumpkins, and then we're going to draw those using chalk pastels. My 102 illustrated last week had their like first real lesson. I mean, again, we had classes all last month, but we did techniques that we want to see in their drawings from here on out. This week, or last week, I should say, was our first like where we looked at photographs of animals. It was animals, and then we worked on illustrating those animals. So the goal is not to draw realistic, right? Our goal is to draw in a simplified or illustrative way of drawing. And so we practiced drawing different animals. And then the goal was to get those into dynamic poses, because a lot of times in illustrative work, your critters are characters, right? They're not just standing there, they're doing something. So couple different ones here. These guys are really talented. They did good. I also love that they have their little sheet on the back too, because that helps me find the lesson page. So this artist got further along than the other ones in their illustrations. You can tell because we've got them already inked and we've got them colored. One more. Let's see. Oh, this one's got a whole scene. Isn't that fun? So this week we're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at photographs, but we're not doing animals. We're doing flowers and plant life. And so we'll look at those and then we'll illustrate those in different ways. My 103 classes. So I didn't grab 103 Comic because I'm in Liberty and 103 Comic meets on Mondays. So they haven't had a class yet. So 103 Comic, you guys, when you get here, you guys are going to be drawing your split portraits. So we have to illustrate a character. It doesn't have to be yourself. It can be any character, but we're looking for 2 parts of that personality or 2 parts of that character. I know Grace really encourages kind of an evil hero type illustration of a person. Okay. In my realistic class, I teach realistic in Liberty. We're drawing really, really challenging. We're drawing reflections. And so every photo reference that they had to choose from has a lot of light, and it either has water, glass, or both. And so these were kind of their choices that they had to pick from. I printed these little thumbnails and then they selected it and we printed them full size. And so I thought I'd show you a few of their pictures. You can see we're doing a grid drawing exercise. And so some of them chose the marble. We had to learn how to use a ruler and how to set up a grid. There was a lot of mathing that had to happen. I'm going to see if I can find one that isn't that marble. Here's a really challenging one. This is a whole jar of marbles. I'm going to show you mine in a minute. This person, look at how good she did. Look at that. She's already started drawing out her marbles. So good. All right, here's another one. So this one is a splashy splash glass of water. And then here's that artist has already started. It's really, really light, but you can see. So the grid will help us to plot points accurately, right? But it also is going to help us to not get lost in the reflections, because you can kind of go cross-eyed looking at all the different glass and such. Last week was really about picking our picture, getting the grid drawn. So this one's mine as I'm demoing for the class. I've got my glass of water and then I've got mine already started over here. And you can see my value scale at the top that I was demonstrating for somebody else. But look in there, like all those crazy lights and darks and midtones. So this week we're going to learn how to use a viewfinder. So I can take this, and since it's already gridded and it's hard to see because it's drawn kind of light, but I can find just one square in the grid. And then I can find the corresponding square on my picture, and I can focus on just that section. And that's what we're going to do. So in our class this week, we're going to get these made. And we're going to practice working just square to square. We will go ahead and have them get the contour drawn. That's the outline part, but then we're going to get this done. So I know a few of them wanted to get their grids redone. We talked about, like, you know, if the grid isn't 1-to-1. So like my grid on my drawing is bigger than my grid on my, or other way around, on my reference is bigger than my grid on my drawing, because I wanted to like zoom in a little bit. And some of them did that, but then when they started mapping out the contour, they're like, oh, that's too small. And so we're going to probably redo their grid so that they can get it to the right scale. But then we'll get their viewfinder out and start filling in those boxes one square at a time. So that's drawing 103, advanced realistic. You either love or hate grid drawing. I like it. All right, couple housekeeping notes. First things first, fall party's coming up. Make sure that you RSVP. The deadline's October 15th. When you click that link to RSVP, there's a lot of information just at the top of the form, so check that out. The next thing is looking ahead. October has 5 Tuesdays. Next week's slideshow, I'll go ahead and put the calendar there so you can see it, but 5 Tuesdays, 5 Wednesdays, 5 Thursdays. This is our first month that has that. Not every month does. Most of them only have 4. But for those of you who usually meet 4 times a month, that's my drawing classes and my multimedia classes, that means you're going to have a day off. And I don't want you to be surprised by that. So it's coming up. It's at the end of this month. For those of you who are in a preschool fundamentals class, a creative explorations class, or a toddler class, that means you might have 2 off days in the month of October. So just be ready. Okay. And then Saturday holiday classes, those were posted to the website, and then the website crashed and I haven't gotten them reposted, but it's on the schedule to do like tomorrow. So I'll get those back up so you can see what those are. Typically, we've done holiday gift workshops, and this year we've done away with gift in the title. And the goal of them isn't really gifty, it's just artsy, and it's holiday-y. So we've got 2 that are preschool focused and 2 that are older kids focused, and they happen on Saturday mornings. So if you're looking for something fun to do in the holiday time to come and make some holiday themed art, we'd love to have you. We tried to stay away from just Christmas and make it all winter holiday-ish. So it's open to everyone, trying to be very inclusive, because, you know, not everybody celebrates Christmas. So these are our holiday classes. They, like I said, I'll get them up. I'm trying to remember what they are. One's a printmaking. I know that because I demoed that one for a video. Excuse me. One I know is the Plaza Lights. So it's a chalk pastel class that's Plaza Lights, but I will get those reposted this week so you guys can see them. Just kind of mark a calendar. 9 a.m. October 15th is when we'll open that registration. I don't anticipate them selling out or anything really fast, but you just never know. All right, let me check my list. Is there anything else I need to tell you? I don't think so. Look, it warms it up if I've got my white someplace. Every now and then, if I put white near my face, okay, I'm gonna work on that. Maybe I need like a reflector or something in here to color correct my Viva light. All right, guys, that's all I have for you. So I hope everybody has a wonderful second week of October. If you need anything from me, I'm here at the Liberty Studio, where you can reach me, email, Facebook Messenger, you know, all the things. So talk to you guys soon.